Hi guys, this is Martina. I hope you do well and you enjoying your weekend. Let's talk about the water today a little bit. One of the questions I'm getting asked most often is how much water should we really drink? There is this general recommendation of 2 liters per day for everyone, but it doesn't seem to be resonating with everybody, and that is all right. Somebody finds it way too much, somebody finds it not enough, and I don't wonder that is creating a confusion, because this is just a recommendation on the approach one size fits all. In reality, one size does not fit all. It never did and it never will be that way, fortunately. And so let's look on some personalized approach how to get around with that, and how you'll be able to figure out how much water should you really drink personally for you based on your body composition and body type, as well as for your children and your people around you, let's say, right? So the general guidance I use and I recommend is to drink 400 milliliters of water on each 10 kilograms of body weight. If you use US measurements, it would be 13.5 oz on each 22 pound of your body weight. Roughly, that's the general guidance. So here you'll be able to calculate how much liquid should you take in daily. Now this amount, 13.5 oz or 400 mils, would contain not only water we drink and the teas we drink, for example, non-caffeinated teas we drink, but also the soups we eat and fruits and vegetables we eat, because they do contain water naturally too, right? So that needs to be also included in these 400 milliliters, which I have mentioned as a general guidance. So that would be pretty much overall recommendation for everybody, for you be able to calculate. Now, I mentioned that the one size does not fit all, and hence is even in this particular case, which is more personalized than the 2 liters for everybody, there are some nuances, and some people would need more water, more liquids than the others. Now, how I do work and how I approach this kind of subject in particular is similar to traditional Chinese medicine. It is not exactly the same, because I am not certified in traditional Chinese medicine, and the approach can be compared to the Eastern medicine. And so equally to TCM, I do use elements in this particular case, how I approach the metabolic time, because this is important also for the water intake. And while I do use similar methodics as the traditional Chinese medicine in terms of elements, I'm not going to go way into details in the methodics, how you'll be able to calculate for yourself, as it would take way too much time and it's rather for a webinar than this kind of short video. I will explain rather in detail all of these 4, and so I encourage you to listen to all of them, because you'll be able to find yourself at least in one, but most likely in 2 or even in 3 of these types, and that is perfectly okay, because we all are composed out of all 4 elements. It's just some are more predominant than the others, and the others are more in the background and we do not feel it, or we do not feel that they do not play a role, however they do. And so without further ado, let's start with that, and let's start with fire. And so if your predominant element is fire in your body composition, you definitely will need more water than the 400 mils on the 10 kilogram of body weight, right? These people do get easily dehydrated, and usually they do not like hot weather and feel quite uncomfortable in the heat and the hot weather, that being also in sauna, and do prefer colder temperatures and cooler climates. Their skin tend to be dry rather easily, even if they put lotion after the shower, and even after that the skin tends to dry rather fast. And so it is highly important that these people carry water with them all the time to avoid dehydration, which happens very fast, unlikely to the other elements. And so regardless of the season, whether it's winter or the summer, I highly suggest and recommend to carry the bottle of water with you all the time. The first sign of dehydration for these people would be dry mouth and then the headache. And if they do get the headache from the dehydration of lack of water, it's rather difficult to get rid of it. And so it can come and develop to a migraine, which is highly unpleasant. And so regardless of the season, regardless of the outside temperature, it is highly important that the people do have liquids at hand all the time. And especially lime water and lemon water is very beneficial for these people to keep the fire in a certain balance, let's say. And these two, limes and lemons, tend to cool the body down, and hence that's why it is important and very beneficial for this particular type of the elements. Now, on contrary, if your predominant element is water, the 400 mils would be rather difficult for you to reach. And it is because these people do not feel thirst, and they keep forgetting to drink and need to be reminded to drink. And whether it is water, whether it is teas or whatever, then it does not come to them naturally. And it is because their body by default has higher water percentage than in comparison to the 5, for example, right? And it does not mean that they the water retention as a diagnostics is something which they which needs to develop. No, it's just their body is composed by default and by nature to hold on more water without feeling uncomfortable. At the same time, on contrary to D5, for example, these people really dislike cold weather and the winter seasons. And they feel they suffer rather in cold, and they need to have sunshine, they need to have high temperatures just to warm up. They may feel, most of them do feel rather pleasant with at water, in being in the lakes, being in the river, being in the creek or ocean. It doesn't matter. The water element, because it's so natural for them, it makes them feel well, it makes them feel good. Now, many of the water element people do like sugary drinks and sweet drinks, and yet that is exactly what they should not be doing and not be drinking, right? They have by default somewhat slower metabolic rate, and the sugar slows it even more. Now, why is it important that these people, in spite of that they forget to drink and need to be reminded, really do come at least on the 400 mils on 10 kilograms of body weight daily? It keeps the water and the liquids in the body running, and the metabolic rate a little bit pushing it down and increasing the naturally slower metabolic rate, right? And so if you think of stagnant waters in the nature, if the water is not cleansed, if the water is stagnant, now it gets dirty, and it's not really, you don't want to swim in that kind of water, and we don't want to have that kind of condition in the body. What exactly happens if these people do not drink enough, and if they do not keep the activity levels high? It does not necessarily mean they should go for run or do the weightlifting. Even if you do enjoy that, please do, obviously. But as little as walks, it's already enough. But the 400 ml sufficient clean water, or the teas, or the soups, and the fruits and vegetables, as well as activity level, is incredibly important for this particular type, because it keeps the liquids in the body moving. That's what we want, right? The third one would be earth element. Now, earth is rather fine with the general recommendation which I have said. So they do not need to go way too over or not under, because they're just usually fine. They do not have difficulties to reach that kind of the appropriate drinking regime. However, they do not wait to go overboard. They do have also slower metabolic rate somewhat, and if this is your predominant element, you have to pay attention to the physical activity too. These people tend to be like the comfort, let's put it that way, right? And so they have difficulties to push themselves into the physical activity. However, once they build up the strong regime and routine, and they stick to it because they are quite resistant and determined, they feel extremely positive benefits from the physics, from the exercise, from the foods they eat, and that obviously tends to increase the metabolic rate too. And the benefit is very robust health condition. So if you do feel solid and quite comfortable in your low physical activity, I strongly recommend that you increase your physical activity and push yourself really, and build up the solid routine, exercise routine, and your body will reward you with excellent health and the good physical condition. 400 ml would be just the golden ratio for you really, and that will be enough for you. If you do need to drink more, please do. If your body tells you to drink more because of the hot weather or the more physical activity. However, as the golden standard, this would be fine for you. Now, last but not least would be the air. And the air element is, well, it depends on what is the second strong one. If the second strong one would be fire, for example, these people need more water. And these people usually are the 400 ml, it's not enough, and they would need by default a little bit more. If the second dominant element would be, for example, the water, they don't need to drink more, and the 400 milliliters would be just about right. Okay, now what these people need to pay attention to, or you can recognize if this fits for you, they mostly can't handle caffeine very well. So whether is it tea, whether is it coffee, or these caffeinated drinks, sugary drinks, it stimulates their body even more, which it's not necessary, because by default the air element is already highly active and highly stimulated. So the nervous system of these people, if it's stimulated by the extra caffeine from the coffee or the tea, they get erratic, they get nervous, and some of them have feeling like that they need to jump out of their skin, and it is rather uncomfortable state of being, let's say. So if you find yourself in this, if this resonates for you or with you, you most probably have the air element strongest one, and you need to pay attention to really stay away by default from the caffeine. And if you, for example, resonate with the fire too, then yeah, that might be the combination for you. So by default, 400 milliliters would be fine. If you need more, you most probably are combined with fire. If you need less, most probably, or if you find like you cannot heat up and you dislike the cold weather, then most probably your second predominant one would be water. right? So this would be very brief explanation out of these 4 elements. Now, however, I think it might give you a good thought and good hints how to calculate the water intake for you personally and for your children and perhaps for your parents or the people around you, based on their body composition and predominantly based on the body weight, for you to be more personalized approach rather than this generic 2 liters water for everybody. So I hope this resonates with you and you find it helpful. And if you did, please like and share with anybody who might be finding it really beneficial for them to be able to estimate how the water situation and water intake is really for them personally. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.